So what is the vacuum we are feeling?
What is the vacuum we're feeding?
We are feeling, yes. What's the need? What's the space? What's the space?
Oh,
If you're writing anything like grants, let's say you want to write a
hmm
grant will not take you serious if you don't talk about this is the vacuum you're feeling. Nobody will take you serious, even those that are talking about giving you a grant. Let's say you're talking to investors or people that want to give you a grant. The first thing they will ask you is, what is the gap? That's the word they will use. What's the gap? What's the gap you're aiming to fill with this business?
yeah.
All right. So this was a very good question that he asked, and something that I thought about but didn't like formally have an answer to. And you'll see that in my response. I kind of go around his question and he calls me out on it. So he was basically asking, okay, what's the gap? What's the gap in the market that you're trying to fill here? And in my response, I don't talk about a gap. I dance around his question. But that was a really good question that he asked. And it did get me thinking about, okay, what is the gap? Because my idea, the business idea, isn't a novel idea. There's other businesses that exist today, but how will I be different from the other businesses out there? So it is something that did make me just start thinking about, okay, what is that gap and how do I clearly articulate that one? And eventually, how do we market? How do we pose this business to audiences where they see, right, that there are several other businesses that offer this the same type of service, but what makes you different? What's your differentiator?
So I think there's two audiences I can target. I think I'm leaning towards the second one because when we look at who can afford this program, I mean, I obviously want to make money. Um, so that's why I'm like, I think that should be my main focus, but I don't know if there's a way to reach both. But yeah, for the Gap itself, I want this to be a one-stop shop. So you know you're coming here to get your
Okay, that's great. Can you hear me?
yes.
So I said you did well. You did amazingly well in your answers. Very much well. Though you answered questions that I still want to ask you later. So the two questions
Yeah.
you answered me now that I noted, you answered me about the services you want to do, which I wish I was able to take down everything, but thank God it's on record. And secondly, you also answered me your target audience, which makes a lot of sense. In fact, I love the fact that you now have more clarity than the last time we
Yeah.
spoke. The clarity you have now is it's yeah, after the last time your clarity has improved. You've shown, okay, look at the things you're able to do and stuff. That's amazing. See, that's the reason I'm fulfilled. That's the reason. That's one of the things these sessions are meant to deliver for you, give you more clarity and give you more certainty. Look at what I want and how I want them. Now, Bert, for the first question I asked you that you were not able to get accurately, I asked, what is the gap? Now, by gap, I mean sometimes you have an idea. Oh, I want to do something. Ask you, what are the gaps? I'm asking, what is not working well in the society now? What is not working well in the society now? Or what incidents has opened up this opportunity or opened up the opportunities for you, for your company to come in? Because if you're telling somebody, well, I want to do something, and they look at the market and see that there are already 100 persons that are doing that thing, that do it, they look at you like, you're wasting our time, please.
Yeah. I think that I would have to do a little bit more research to pinpoint exactly what the gap is because I think I don't know if the offerings that I'm talking about is unique to my business. I'm sure there are other businesses out there that has, a multitude of things that you can choose from.
Okay, so you guys can see he called me out on my kind of BS answer there. But yeah, I mean that was good. I think that is one of the purposes of having a business coach, is that they will help you focus and clearly be able to identify what it is that that you're trying to do. And so with that question, I obviously was not prepared to answer that. So I danced around it, but then he called me out. So it really did get me thinking of, okay, what is that gap, and how do we make that a differentiator? How will my business be different from other businesses like this out there?
So ask yourself if there are things like Google and check, but if there are things like this, also check what is the uniqueness you're bringing. Do people that are existing, do they have so thing? People that are existing, do they have so thing? You just say, oh, they may be cater to somebody like you. Will you cater to somebody like you?
All right, so there was some pieces that I cut out. So just to explain here, he basically asked me if my business would cater to someone like me, and then in my response, I said, yes, maybe not me where I am right now, but an earlier version of me, absolutely. So I liked how I liked the question. I really liked the question because it made me start thinking of, again, it made me start thinking of my target audience and exactly who is my customer. It made me start thinking about the customer. So I think I never really thought of myself as being the customer because I was thinking of myself as present day Onyeka, but past Onyeka or even like a different version of myself absolutely could use this as a service. So it just made me start thinking about that in a different kind of way.
It would.
What
I mean,
would
maybe
you what would you
current
need from such thing if it exists?
old self. I would say maybe not me where I am currently now, but my old self, it could have catered to me before.
What it would have done to your old self, what fears of yours it would have allayed or it would have helped you to overcome. Talk about that. This is going to be a content, it's going to be a program you can build. Do you understand where I'm going to?
Yeah.
So this is you thinking, oh, if I had this kind of thing at this level of my life, look at what it would have done for me. I'm trying to make it clear now. So
Yeah.
think about that level of your life and think of what it would have done for you. Now, there are people in that same level you were then. Those guys are also part of your target because you said you're multifunctional in this thing, like it's an encompassing thing. So think about people that are in the place you were years ago and what you wished you had and what you could get or what those guys could get now if your companies existed, what you can offer them. So
Yeah.
give me an example. Can you just say something like that? Is it
Well,
allowed
like
to process?
it is. So I'm trying to take myself back in time. I think, right, the old past me, I'm thinking of myself in high school. I think that's something that would have appealed to me, or I think I would have signed up for something like that. Because if it can, what am I? I think I'm just talking. What was your question again? I forgot your question.
Go ahead. You're making sense. Making sense. My question is, you're making sense. You're making sense. A lot of sense. My question is, where you were years ago, that if you had some of these ideas in your head that you want to offer,
Yeah.
can you think about your previous self and what these ideas would have done for you to make it better?
Okay, so going back to my previous, I remember where my train of thought was going now. So my high school self, I was very busy. I played sports. I, took advanced classes. I didn't have a lot of time. So at that age, I didn't know all of those things that I do now.
We influence over other things that will work. In fact, it has to work so well. It has to work so well so you can be able to pivot to others.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So now it's like the iPhone of Apple.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
It's like the iPhone of Apple, and then every other thing. So if that is the way, we can also. Well, I don't want us to be too. Also one of those think long term. Let's not make the name to revolve around it. Let's not make the name to revolve around. But I want to ask,
Jumping back into the video, because I did cut some things out. So just to give you guys some context, he asked, so we're I think we went back to the name, and we're talking about the name, and we're also talking about scalability, because part of the business idea is to kind of roll out in different phases additional services. So I was saying, like, I think we were both kind of saying, right, thinking long term, I don't want to create a name that's unique to the first service that I'm going to offer. And he was also saying, that service would be the iPhone of Apple, the first iPhone of Apple. So we need to make sure that we master it, we make it the best that we can before we now start rolling out iPhone 2, 3, 4, or in this realm, right, the additional services. So he asked me a question, and I actually forget the question, but I pivoted and I was like, what does value mean he asked me, okay, which one is the most valuable? So I was like, okay, that's kind of a hard question to answer because it's going to be different for everyone. So I pivoted a little bit and I was like, what does value mean to you, basically? So just wanted to provide that context. So let's jump back in.
Well,
okay,
you can ask the question, what does value mean? Everybody values something different, but if we're looking objectively,
people are gonna say. So the reason I'm saying this is, if there is gonna be a cash cow in a business, now sometimes people start up a business and they evolve and get other things. Maybe something is the first thing they were thinking about at the time. They see, oh, this thing is not yielding as much as the other one. They evolve. But now you're starting this business with the end in mind. You already have a clarity of what you want the long term to be. So if there is going to be a cash cow, which you think might be better, than also thinking that you should start thinking about them as early as possible. If there's a cash cow, the reason being that it's going to help you in the traffic. Now, I understand you'll be more confident if this is what you have, the one you have most power to influence. The other ones you will need help and stuff. But also be open to thinking, okay, do I have somebody here that I can also be getting on board to as quickly as possible, so that, do you know what I'm saying? The issue, I'm not saying.
All right, so here, he started asking me about, I think he brought up the question, have I thought about getting partners? Which I think it's a good question, and it's a good thing to start thinking of now, just so I kind of have an idea of when we get to that point. I do think it's early on to bring in other people, just because there really is no business right now. But I do think long term that would be ideal to get really, to get subject matter experts in those fields, because I don't know everything. I don't want to know everything. That's where partnership and collaboration comes into play. And specifically for business partnership, I think that would be a very smart thing to do, is to partner with someone who is in the field. So that way, like, right, we're not starting from ground zero. Maybe we're starting on level 5 of 10 instead of level 1.
And if they do have the numbers, what do you think? Would it be okay to start thinking of getting a partner in that line?
Yeah,
I'm not saying all these things randomly. So we need to see. And also you're going to have to be able to reach out to those that are willing to pay, or those that are capable of paying, so that you can have some working capitals to start with. The reason I am saying this is because I just want you to have the idea of what kind of persons, because community works a lot. If you're able to get into a community, your influence or your brand will spread more because you gain access into a community, especially communities that have this thing, maybe where parents always talk. Oh, my daughter is this, my daughter is doing something like this. Just saying that, oh, tell me about it, my daughter. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's also good for you to have this idea where there are communities you can target, because once you're able to penetrate into communities, you spread like wildfire. You spread. That's why I was asking you the first time. What about your church? What kind of church do you attend? Do you have an influence there? Because I know the power of communities in building a business.
Communities, a community that I have easy access to, that would be good to pilot this in, and then in that way, once it is successful, because it will be, it would then spread within that community. So I think when it comes to community, I think that I can resonate with that a little bit more. So that's something I have to think about, because it's not something that I thought of initially. And there's so many different communities that you can think of. Use the example of a church community or a church group. And, that's just one example. It could be maybe a fitness group, or it could be maybe an ethnic group, or it could be a cultural or ethnic group that I have ties to, using, of course, myself as the example, because I'm the creator. I'm Nigerian. Specifically, I'm Igbo. So is that a community group that would be a good target audience when I think of my customer? Like, my customer should be able to live in different communities. So when we're talking about the Nigerian Igbo community, will I find my customer there? The answer is yes. When it comes to, a church community, could I still find my customer there? Yes. So I think when it comes to community, I resonate with that a little bit more, because when it comes to certain socioeconomic groups, I think just a part of something that I've always wanted to do is to cater to those people, those groups that may not have the access, may not have the resources to seek or even know that there's a service like this that exists. So that's something like I've always wanted to do. And I think that will be alongside building the business. This is actually a very good exercise. Kind of watching this call back, it makes me think about some of these things again. And it's giving me some ideas as I'm thinking about it. So
you know what I'm saying about the community thing? Does that make sense? Okay, let's talk about our takeaway. What are the things you're going to implement on as we live here?
Okay.
Because I want you to be able to have a working document. The success of a business is that you're waking up and you can talk about your business when you're waking up. That's of every business. Bible, let me go a little spiritual. I'm a spiritual person, so I'm going to be. The Bible will say, and the word was made flesh and dwelt amongst us.
Yes.
And the word was one of the most important thing about an idea. For your idea to become flesh, it has to be, there is a spirit level, there is a soul level. Something has to go from, oh, I'm thinking it, to I'm sure of this, I'm certain of this. So my question is going to be, what can we take away as implementation, something you're going to implement before the next time we meet, which is going to be what again? This is 20th. What is the next time we're meeting? All of a sudden, 1 hour now becomes too short. The last time I gave you 2 hours, you didn't know. You think 1 hour is going to be
I
okay?
know.
So
you need to tell me.
Okay, let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you from the things I was able to jot down.
Okay.
We are still trying to figure your name.
Yeah.
And you said that you're trying to give a distinction between your personal brand and this business. Now,
yes.
I think if you want to have your personal brand, please keep the life on corporate for your personal brand. That's my suggestion. You can start with Onyeka eBay, life on corporate. Keep that as your personal brand. Keep the life on corporate thing, because that life on corporate thing, when you talk about it, I think it's more about from the things you're talking about in your video. I see that that's the brand you want to have. That's what you want to talk about people. You want to be this kind of person that as you get older, can be able to talk to younger people, especially younger women, influence them, inspire them, and tell them about things. Oh, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a work from home visiting. How am I able to balance stuff? Am I saying the truth about good? Good. So keep, yeah, I'm a prophet, so I'm able to get that. So take that. So keep that Onyeka Uche Life on Corporate. Keep it as a personal brand. That Life on Corporate should be linked to your personal brand, right? Now, let's talk about the other part, which is let's talk about the name that this company is going to have. Listen, when you give a company a name, the passion drives you more.
Yeah.
That is very, very key. Finding a name. So go now, tell your body, the ChatGPT body, brainstorm with ChatGPT about the things we're talking about. Don't think about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I think there's a lag. There's a lag between me. Then finally, you are still going to research more on the gap thing. Research on the gap thing. What is the gap in society that you are willing to fill, or you think that is giving you a level of opportunity? I think when you get this, there are things. Well, if you get this, I think it's going to help you to give you an idea of what to do from here.
Yeah.
Now, from your name, Onyeka Uche, Life on Corporate, you've already seen that you can now know the content you can create for your personal brand and the content you can create for this other thing. Now, you still have Onyeka Uche, Life on Corporate, fine. But as you're talking about it, one day you could just come around and just say, oh, let's talk about this. I've seen some persons think, oh, you have this idea. People are like, oh, yeah, it's true. I relate to that. Well, we don't have time to explore this, but if you're interested in this area, I'm going to tell you, follow this so date. I'm going to be talking about this and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's
so
exactly. You already have an idea. Okay, this is my personal brand. But then from my personal brand, people that come there could also be shipped to this place. And you now start thinking. So when the name gets ready, we now start talking about opening a TikTok account for that, creating content under those accounts, and then start bombarding people with content in that area so that you can say, yes, this is already a company on its own. It's already a movement on its own. You can now start thinking, who are the people I need to network with, the communities I need to reach, are there focal persons in those communities I could get and put there, and I'll say, okay, I'm already building a team in this place, because you now are the team in Life on Corporate, but you've not had a team of the other nameless company. Sorry, yet to be named company. So see you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just watching this footage back just makes me so happy because he was understanding the vision. He was understanding completely like what I'm trying to build, right? I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to build a personal brand. I want to eventually have a team behind the business. I want to put out content that's geared towards the business, or not even saying I personally, but my team, right? And I don't necessarily want to be the face of that. And then behind my personal brand, I want to be putting out content that people can resonate with as, someone who's trying to grow their business, as a mother who's trying to balance everything, as, a wife who's trying to balance everything, as a working woman in the corporate world that's trying to balance everything. Like, he understood it. And apart when he was talking, I was like, yes, Casey, we see each other. So at the end, when he was like summarizing everything, that made me very happy to have my vision being seen by someone else. So sometimes I'm like, does this make sense? Like the other people? But yeah. So yeah, he gave me some homework after to think about the name, and he was like really honing in on that name. And I to be completely honest, and Casey, if you're watching this, hey, honestly, the name to me wasn't that important in the very beginning. Before this call, I was just like, let's just talk about what I'm trying to achieve here, and let's make steps to to do this thing. But after talking to him and after, him sharing why it's so important to have a name, how the passion, how the drive will be even that much more behind the name. And I really loved how he tied it to scripture. I really understood why I need to create a name. Now we've already had 2 additional calls after this one, and I do now have a name for the business. Tune in for that video. But yeah, so that is our first coaching call. Comment down below if you like this format of us going through the call and then me kind of watching the call live with you guys. Comment down below if you would like to continue seeing our coaching calls. I can definitely, keep putting out this type of content out there for you guys. If anyone else doesn't like it, I like it for my own self because it makes me watch back the call, and it makes me think about some of the things that, we talked about, and some ideas I may not have had during the call or afterwards. Me watching it back kind of sparks ideas and makes me think about some of the concepts that we talked about even more. If you would like to see more, definitely comment down below. Let me know what were your thoughts on this video, on some of the things that we talked about. If you have any ideas, I don't know, just let me know. I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I really love to talk with you guys down in the comments. So feel free to leave your thoughts down below. I read every single comment and I reply to every single comment. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. I know this was definitely a longer one, but if you made it this far, thank you so much. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.